Because I imagine one day they're gonna have like a pyro tag, like similar to Cinema 4D, but it's gonna be
Oh
like
my
something
god,
that
that
you can
would
just
be
add.
so insane if they did.
Add it.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is the third party podcast. I'm back here with Josh and me,
Ayo.
myself. Yeah,
Another
we're here to
duo.
talk.
The duo
Yeah,
podcast is back. No more
more
guests
duo stuff.
for a minute.
Yeah,
Hopefully we can
maybe
still keep
more.
up.
Yeah,
I'm
guess that's fun
hoping.
though.
I am hoping because I know we're recording two today, which means we have 6 more podcasts coming out after today. Which means we have like
Yeah.
6 weeks until we need to record another one if we want to keep up the weekly thing.
Actually, I wanna try like find time to record at least once per week, right?
That
So
would
once
be
per
nice
week,
because
that's
I'm going
like
to have a lot.
there'll be 4 recordings. That's 8 podcast episodes. 8 podcast episodes. And if you keep doing it, it just grows and grows. And I
Yeah.
guess we could take breaks in between to
Well,
make
yeah,
sure that
yeah.
we're also kept up to date.
We could do like if we did once a week. That means we record for 1 month, have
Yeah.
podcasts obviously uploaded that month, and then the month after we can take a break and have 4 podcasts that month.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I mean, dude, that's pretty good, and it's also like refreshing because
We'll have
there's only so much going on with like the industry and with the community and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
and the only thing that's like
And
ever talked about is fucking AI half the time. Like everyone's like,
I mean, that's the current stuff that's going on.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah. So the topic for today, we were here to talk about
Oh yeah, shit.
like the stuff that
I
we
gotta pull
just
that up.
like enjoy watching. I guess it's like a little bit of a continuation of like before when you used to play games and stuff like that. Talking about like the impact of playing games and all of that stuff. But it's like movies and shows and you
Oh
know
man,
what?
I don't have the questions. You're gonna probably have to ask
No,
them.
I can read it out.
Okay.
I can read it out. I can read it out.
Oh, I
I
should have
feel like a
brought.
little. Even though I'm tired, I feel like I have a bit more. I have a lot more energy than you do because you look dead.
Well, I mean, I'm awake. It's just like pain still.
Right.
I do
Yeah.
have that.
So like So we're just talking about like our favorite like franchise and stuff. But it's like a bit of like a continuation of like a couple of episodes ago for like where we talked about like our favorite games.
Yeah.
Uh, I guess we could talk more about it. Like
Oh, is
for
that
example,
that
when I
is pretty
watched.
similar, right?
It is pretty similar, but it was more in games than it was
I
on like
guess.
movies and
Well,
TV shows.
no,
I guess.
we talked. I think we. I could be wrong, 100%, but I'm pretty sure we talked about games and film at the same time because we kind of
I
like
guess
crossbreeded like anime inspirations and like stuff like
we could
that.
talk about more of them. We could talk
Well,
about more of them.
okay, yeah, we can. I kind of wanted to maybe talk about companies though, right? Like just
We can, yeah. We like
like
studios and stuff.
yeah, like studios, actual like just fucking brands and companies. Like a fucking Nike commercial might hype you up a little bit because you're like, ooh, I like how they did this.
Yes. Why the digital? I sleep. Nike. Yes. Yeah,
Bro,
but yeah, I mean,
imagine
like,
what a digital fucking making commercials. That would be crazy.
I mean,
They
they
probably
could,
have.
but they're not really. When they if a studio like Wetter Island makes a commercial, it's gonna be more like a VFX kind of thing rather than like a motion designer like looking kind of thing. Because when you
I
look at
know, but
other
we
studios like
gotta look at it from both perspectives because obviously I do
yeah,
VFX and all that.
you could think of it like okay, for example, there's a studio in Canada and I think Brazil is São Paulo. I don't remember, or Brazil. I don't remember where. I don't remember where is São Paulo. Is it like the same? Um, I'm bad at geography. San, uh,
Wait, where?
yeah, city, yes. Sao Paulo, I don't know. I think it's Sao Paulo, yeah. City in Brazil. I'm not entirely sure. I forgot where it was. But this studio in Brazil and Canada, called Tendril. They work on like a lot of motion design stuff. So they do stuff like Microsoft, ESPN. I don't think if they work for Nike, but they work on all that kind of stuff. When they work on like motion design and they're like good at it, but if they worked on like a short film, like it would look good, but it's not like as like some. It's not like a regular short film. Like Ian Hubert, all this visual effects and character stuff. They have like very abstract-ish stuff. And if you look at the commercial, like let's see, you get ILM, or let's see who else like Technicolor to work on a commercial.
Mm,
Like it'll be like more like a VFX animation kind of thing for
yeah.
a commercial, right?
You know what
I
it
think
when you said that, it I don't know why, but it completely reminded me of a type of commercial that inspired me a lot in terms of storytelling. You know those sad ass like Asian commercials? Like the
yeah,
really
those
sad.
are examples of like filmmaking and then applying it to commercial and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Some of those some of those are like they're good and they can tell a story, but they're also like quite long. And I think the purpose of like design commercials is more just to make the product look like nice. Apart
Yeah,
from like telling a story,
it's
but
more
also
for
look
a
nice,
product. But if
and
it's like
they
a
also like straight to the point as well.
oh, you know what? That does actually lead me to a question. I don't know if you want to keep going off on the topic about like franchises that we like, but um like what's the difference for you when it comes to making a commercial for a product or a service? Because a service is different, right? Like you're
Oh yeah,
highlighting.
uh, there is a difference. So okay, so
That's
let
why I
me
feel like the
compare it.
that's why I feel like the SAG commercials come in, you know, because you're
Yeah,
really highlighting.
so
Yeah.
yeah, products and the service they have a very different kind of uh, feel to it. Now, service depends on the kind of service. Let's say it's a hospital or maybe I don't know, like maybe it's an electronic like e-service something like that, something online. So an example would be like if you're doing something for Adidas versus that thing I did for like Trinity, which is like a tech company kind of thing, right? So it's more showing about like the app and the functions, and it's more like digital kind of. This is an example of like an electronic service versus a product, right? This you just explaining the app and what it can do for you, what it can like help you with.
Apps
There's a lot more like abstract sci-fi stuff in that kind of sense. But when you work on something like a product, right?
I feel like
It's more like just
apps are still semi product related because of the fact that you're showing off like the screen or something, and it's not like let's say like a physical therapy place like you're where it's about the people helping you like being in person and like maybe I guess the
well, it's
facilities that it
yeah,
includes.
it's semi-base. Yeah, it is kind of semi basically. But then you have like actual like product commercial. Like um, there's a lot of commercials I did that are not on my portfolio right now. But I did like something like makeup, and it's just showing like it's all about this product kind of thing. Like for example, if I got the shoe, it's all about the comfort of a shoe. This product is about like the smell of its food. It's about like the taste, and trying to show off that taste. But a service is more like here, just like for example, to explain this in like a lot of, like in more simpler terms. Let's say I get like a shoe, I get like cool animations, spin the shoe, duplicate the shoe, all that crap. With a service, let's say it's a hospital, for example. I haven't
Yeah.
had that kind of client yet. But then you don't have like a product. You have their logo, and then like what else is there to do? Well, you can get models of like I don't know, like an ambulance or like a doctor or injection or something like that. Maybe explain like, oh, it will help these kind of people. So it's like different sort of uh, uh, strategies or techniques to go around doing these
Yeah.
different
It feels
kind of
very
commercials and stuff like that.
like film based though for those types of things because you need to show off the real parts of it, not just like some 3D.
If it's a service, I guess there is more
I mean, it's not like a
filmmaking
medicine, like
to it. Maybe.
if it was like ibuprofen,
If it
right?
was a medicine, it's a product, and
Yeah,
then
so
you
then you
get
can show off
yeah.
the product. But I feel like for a
Uh,
service, I don't know if it's better to show off in more the real life stuff and not doing some like maybe like a skit. Like I could maybe
that
for a
depends.
hospital, I
So
could see a skit wouldn't work too well. Like you're like you do a skit of a dude getting run over and you put him into the ambulance and bring him to the hospital. Like I don't know if that's a great
yeah, I
commercial
would
idea.
say an example of like is like Microsoft design with their CG commercials, and then you have like Nike or Logitech or Razer, right? And, Razer's like, yeah, cool keyboard, and then you have this. It's all focused on this one product, and the Microsoft
Razer
is like,
sponsor us.
yeah.
Sorry.
And then Microsoft is like, yeah, here's this Windows. Here's how it's gonna affect your workflow, yada yada. They can have like similar look and feels if they wanted to, but then like the way you have to demonstrate the product or the service is like different to each other. Just because when it comes to a service, it's not like an object or anything like that.
Mm.
It's more of like it's just like a. So I actually learned this in business. A product is like depends on the product. You get to keep them, but like a service is depending on the kind of service, you're sort of like paying someone to do something for you, or like paying an app or something to all that kind of stuff. That's basically like sort of like the difference, I guess, if that makes sense. There is a difference and with product and all of that stuff, and to demonstrate it, you know, differentiates and stuff like that. I guess the form differs like a lot, and they have a lot of other factors. But the easiest example from my end is like working for like the trilogy for like the New York thing, where they had
Yeah,
like
I guess that's the
it
most
is
similar.
that's not a product, that's actually a service to like help with like licensing using the blockchain NFT crap, whatever stuff that is.
Yeah.
Um, and
But
then you
also,
have
I
like
guess you're
Adidas.
you're still animating it in like a very abstract way, considering what I remember from it. I don't know. I
Yeah,
mean, it's still.
but if there was any narrative, then there'll be stuff,
I
I
feel
guess.
like a narrative. It wouldn't be something that you would pick up though.
For I mean for film, I also think like filmmaking also works for both. Like if you let's say you have a Nike shoe, you have like this guy training, and then showing off the shoe, whatever, and all that stuff. And then if you have a service, it's like Uber Eats, food coming to my door, yada. You can probably animate them in the same way, but I guess like the concept and the way it's written for like making a commercial is very different, like
Yeah.
different to each other. But VFX is more on the entertainment side of things, right? So it's
Yeah.
like more
Or I
film.
guess
It's sort
short.
of
Well,
probably.
yeah, I meant more film than just straight up VFX as a whole, because even VFX you know how to do. Like you've done motion design and the abstract
I
stuff
think
and
all,
like how to use
I think
particle
all 3D
systems.
artists can all 3D artists can do whatever, but then they also have like their special thing that they focus on, right? Like you can do motion design, I could do VFX, but obviously we're better doing what we
Yeah, but
do the most. It's not like
I have a feeling you could render out an explosion and then comp it well into like a real life scene. You wouldn't have a hard time
I
with it.
that is yeah. Well, actually, now that you mention it, because there is actually like I remember there's always videos on social media of different places, including here. Let's say there's like a train, the Dubai metro train, and then it's like a roller coaster all of a sudden, and it's just like a
Oh
CG
yeah,
thing.
yeah, I saw that.
I wonder, like, maybe, like, do you plan on making like stuff like that? Like, let's say you're taking a video of, like, I don't know,
Like
a
quick
city or
renders of
whatever, and then there's like a cool VFX thing happening. Oh, there's you go to New York, and then I don't know, you have like a teddy bear, it's like falling down, colliding with the other buildings, something like that, or maybe like a I don't know, like a maybe an iconic character,
yeah,
or let's say you have I don't
like
know
Marshmallow
Goku or
Man or
something, and
something.
he's
Yeah.
going super Saiyan in like the buildings, and I don't know, something like that, or
I've
Doctor Strange or
thought
whatever. But
about it. Um but the thing, and I have this problem whenever I watch stuff like that. I never see the purpose to it, and that's a lot of the things when I make something. I usually want to make something that's like, it's a personal preference, but I want to make stuff that I feel like is gonna have like more of like a, I guess, leave an impact or an emotion on you than just like, ooh, look at
yeah,
cool render thing that something happened. It's like I don't care about that. That's never really what I cared about. It's more,
yeah, but those kind of animations do help with advertising
it helps, but then also
different
like,
products and stuff like that.
no,
It
that
helps in the
helps on
market,
like the
like,
advertising space, or like if you're just a 3D designer, a motion graphics artist, or you're learning VFX, maybe like it might be cool to like understand how to place 3D objects in the scene, or how to add a simulation to real life footage. That's probably really cool to like learn how to do. I obviously know how to do it already, but it's one of those things that's like, it doesn't leave that that curiosity factor. Like it's definitely fun. It's like one of those things that like I do it for fun, whatever. I shit post it, but again, it feels like a shit post. It doesn't feel like something that has meaning behind it to me. Whereas like I'm more
Yeah,
interested in like the
I
full
guess I make.
film and
I yeah, I
whatever.
see what you mean. But you know, if I did VFX, right? That's what I would do because that's sort of related to the advertising thing. Because for example, like
Well, it's
if I
fun.
just
You
work
get
on like
practice on what you're doing. You can
your
probably get
practice.
hired on certain things because you clearly demonstrate the abilities to do certain things. And I think if I was in a freelancer spot where I wasn't focused on YouTube or making my own stuff, I would definitely do it because then I'm showing off what I can do. So then people can hire me based on what I can do. And it gives me like a showcase. You know, it's like here's just one shot, but like you can see like I know these principles of like lighting and
Yeah, and it also
rendering.
does help with like attraction as well because a lot like people will
Oh
be
yeah,
like,
people fucking love those
I
videos.
I my like my director who sends me videos is like, look at this guy who made this like VFX shot in Dubai, and like damn, that's pretty cool. And he's like, on your free time, could you like practice to make it? I'm like, yeah, whenever I'm free, like he wants me to like try and make those kind of renders because I know that right as of now they're a bit like trendy, I guess,
They
and
are
people
very
want.
trendy. It's also kind of one of the I don't know. It's one of those things that I feel like I should do because I know it'll help me on my
Yeah.
socials, but it's not. It just it's not
For me,
fun.
I would, but then like I have like other projects I want to work on before I do any of those trendy stuff. Like I don't mind doing it, but it's just that I really like I have like passion projects that I really want to like work on and stuff like that. And if I get that out of the way, and there's like nothing else on my on my like my bucket list of things to make, and I can just like, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Why not work on that? Because for example, I don't post a lot, right? I just post per project, and my page doesn't always do well, right? So I'm thinking like, what if I made like a bunch of like VJ, like one bunch of like looped animations or something like that, and you know keep as like
I guess for what
an
you do,
archive.
it makes sense. Like maybe posting like sim tests or something. It doesn't even
Yeah,
have to be with the real life footage thing. That's kind of also another
yeah, yeah,
problem that I
yeah.
have where I getting real life footage, which was something I used to do a lot. Do not I don't know what happened to me, but I don't go out enough. So I just don't film footage ever. So if I were to do it, it would be like, okay, let's go to stockfootage.com and fucking download this B-roll
Some
shot.
people use stock footage, straight up just stock footage. I mean that works as well.
It
Because I
works, but
mean,
it's
stock
just not
footage
something
has
that
like high quality.
I don't think it's something that I don't know. It's just whatever. And a lot of it is not new to me, like the concepts of I don't know. Like I feel like if you gave me footage and you're like do something with this and make it like loopable or whatever, like yeah, cool. I do this one thing, but I already know how to do it, so it's not a necessarily a challenge or a push in a direction that I'm
Yeah,
like, oh,
I
okay.
God, I remember this was like in the old studio that I was. Director was like, he was like, "Oh, I have a great idea. Why don't we get like the building, right? The Burj Khalifa, the tallest building." And because they had this project based on like monkeys, right? He's
Mm.
like, "Whoa, what do we like? Got a banana peel," and he dropped it on top. And I'm not a VFX artist, but I guess we can try. And then like all the 3D arts were like, wait, how do you actually do this? How do you get like a banana peel? Is like a before back then because Cinema 4D didn't really have any like good like
I could
soft body
figure that
tools,
out
and there
with
was
Blender,
Blender.
but yeah.
So, but now you can. It's pretty easy. But back then we were like, how are we gonna do this without making it look weird or like because it was like a banana peel. And we can't just straight up grab a model. I mean, we could, but it was a bit weird, like how we're gonna simulate it. But right now you can do it pretty easily because Cinema 4D has like a lot more optimization with it. But everyone was like, bro, we how do you do? Plus the building that we were supposed to do it on, it's very pointy.
Like the
So you
Empire
know how
State Building
soft
type
body
of
is.
thing.
So
Yeah.
when you put the thing on, it's gonna go through because of how, and it's not gonna like you have to put more sub steps to actually get it to like stick on top because it's so pointy, Or maybe you should put like maybe like another collider on top, like an invisible like cylinder or something like that. But
Yeah.
there's like a bunch of issues, and again, we were all motion designers. We're not really into the VFX stuff,
I
so
don't
that
know,
was a bit.
man. Motion design to me or motion graphics in general are just are like a sub set of VFX artists, in my opinion, outside of like maybe some of the abstract stuff. But even then, like you run into shit like what would you consider Doctor Strange's like thing, the effect where like shit is like going infinite and it's going into fractals and it'll fractalize a building. That feels like very motion graphics.
It is. I mean, I think that is to a certain extent, you would probably hire a motion designer for that kind of thing. But it also depends. Like, is this designer the kind who works on VFX, or is he like the one who works on like commercial stuff? Because they're a bit different, right?
Yeah.
There are ones who just straight up like who are just straight up just make this abstract stuff, and then they just get do that stuff. But do you
Well,
really consider
I
them
could
as like
I
a
could
full
also
on?
I could also consider like
You could
maybe Scott Pilgrim or something like that, like those
You could
effects.
just consider them just 3D artists. But Scott Pilgrim, right? The text and stuff like that, that is motion design,
Yeah.
like proper motion design. If you look at like Iron Man's mask, right? Iron Man's helmet, and all those like UI effects that come out, right? Or if you look at Star Wars and you have them talking around like the HUD UI and looking at the map, that is also motion graphics.
It's
Title
motion
sequences,
graphics, but you're also I mean,
it's VFX ish,
you're
but
still
it's all.
comping it. So that's where I'm saying
So
like a lot of our stuff is mixed, and that's where I have to learn motion design or a little bit of it just so I can get shit like that.
I mean, it's not that we motion design in general is mixed. It's just that side of motion design is mixed. So like the kind of UI stuff, if you do stuff eh, eh, like uh um like if you look at like Star Trek or something, and you have all those like cool sci-fi UI stuff. That is motion. That's done by a motion designer, and maybe there's someone to composite it in, but it's like a combination of both, right? But it's not like full VFX where you have like a dragon and breathing fire. So that's not motion design.
I don't even.
And also
doing
doing like soft body on like a cool looking shoe or something like that. That's not VFX.
Yeah, to me,
VFX, but that side
VFX in general isn't even 3D related. I feel like it's all concept.
No, it doesn't even have to be 3D.
I guess
VFX
VFX as a whole.
3D.
Yeah, I mean, there's 3D VFX, like adding an explosion and stuff, but then that's also like sim. That's like a sim work, and then you render it, and then you hand it to a comp artist, who I then consider the VFX artist, where they're getting the asset and then they're comping it in. It's so weird, man. There's so many terms, but like it can all be generalized so much, and you can intermingle people like so well in film and shit. It's only when you get to like advertisements and things like that where like maybe it goes too far in the abstract that you're maybe relying heavily on just the render itself. And the only time I ever feel like it's true motion graphics is when they take out 3D entirely and they're just using After Effects and it's all 2D, just all 2D graphics.
Or you think motion graphics is just purely a 2D thing?
I feel like it is, but only because like what you do for motion graphics, I could do in VFX. Like I think I'm not going to say the specific project you did, but you did like a granular sim where you pressed objects into it, and I'm like, well, that seems like something that I could do on the VFX side for like someone stepping in sand, and the context is only different because of the way that you represented it, but the actual techniques behind it is very just the same thing. So I don't know.
But now that you mention it, you said you actually understand why you would say motion graphics is more of like a 2D thing, and that would be because of like if you think about motion design, it's basically graphic design animated, right? So it's just like graphic design in motion. That's basically what motion graphics is. But then you have all these like 3D elements that are added, and they have that separate field called 3D motion design.
Yeah,
they do that for
and that's just to me the 3D part is just a context shift in terms of like what you're doing.
I guess so. Yeah. I guess it's more of like a different field than it is sort of like it's like this is like the technical term. I guess it's like sort
Yeah.
of like a just a
I
play
mean,
on words.
bro, you've done like I've done smoke sims, you've done smoke sims, and the only reason they're different is because we put them in two different scenes. Like I'm using it to blow up a
I
building,
guess.
you're using it to like go behind a phone or some shit. Like it's like
Yeah.
I, I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of there's that similarity to me that I'm like it's why
You
I
use a smoke sim to make it a car explode. I use a smoke sim to just
reveal
to
an
put it
object.
behind the phone. We are not the same.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like context wise, it's different.
Yeah,
The
I
way
guess
you
yeah,
render it,
it's
but
used differently.
it's similar. But then that's obviously why I talk about like just the 2D side could be considered motion graphics because like this idea of Scott Pilgrim where they have like maybe text 3D tracked in a scene. Again, the context is that it's 3D tracked, but in reality, it's still motion design to me because it's you know you know just 2D.
Yeah, pretty
I don't
much.
know. It's weird, but then yeah, that's just how
Yeah.
I see it.
Yeah. But how are you like keeping up with like the like like recent like tools and software and like, the news and stuff like like the past couple of years it was like Unreal Engine, Rococo suits, and now you got like AI and like how are you keeping up with like
I try to use
just
all of them.
yeah. I like to use whatever if I need it I'll use it. Otherwise,
Yeah,
I
I
don't really
feel
have it.
like I
Like
feel
photo
like
scanning and stuff.
yeah, I feel like if it helps me in the long run, I'll use it.
Yeah,
But it has to be like very specific to what I use or do. Like because I'm making my own
pretty
short
much.
films, stuff like the Rococo suit that I have, it's very helpful to have that as a tool. Like AI is very helpful for me where like I've seen all of it. I keep up with everything. It's one of those things that like every morning I'm on YouTube. I'm looking up like new tutorials, new things that are coming out, trying to at least be aware of it. So that way, maybe it's something that comes up that I need. Like I think that's how I like came across like an add-on for like a car rigging software. But then you have stuff like Unreal. I don't know. Like a lot of it is very case by case basis and you use it when you need it, I guess. But I don't know. That's hard to explain. I think keeping up with software specifically, because
I
it is
guess
very
yeah.
dependent.
I mean,
Like I'm
I
not
just
using
use
X particle,
whatever
so
makes sense. If if Unreal Engine had like I don't really see a reason for me to, even though it's super good, unless I'm doing like
for
super
what
high,
for
like
what you do, I don't know. Like I really don't know.
I probably might not need it. But
Maybe
if there
except for an
was like,
environment renders might
if
be
there
helpful.
were may no, yes, absolutely. But if you do something like motion graphics, abstract stuff is better to do it in like Houdini or Cinema 4D
Yeah, like
or
a dedicated 3D program
VMI.
and not like something
Because
that could be
the
used
apps
as a game engine.
Yeah, because the abstract stuff that the Unreal can do, whatever you can put into it, is more just like explosions and water sims, but it's not like the super specific kind of abstract, like soft bodies or kind of things. Like you probably could do it there, but maybe I'm talking about like for the stuff that we need it for. Like we have the flexibility not to have explosions, but explosions to sort of work in a very weird and unusual kind of way, or how we like it, or something like that.
Mm.
'Cause we don't just have, or we can do this for this kind of shot. We just do it for like a more abstract narrative, I guess. You know.
Wait,
But
hold up.
yeah, but then there's like using also you like using AI. Like again, I only use it if I need like references or maybe some kind of texture, I guess. You know.
Mm.
But it's kind of you also have to like while you're working, you also have to make sure like you're also keeping up to date with like the latest tools and making sure because
Yeah,
I
you
remember I
you
remember
gotta make
hearing it
sure
on
is
like
I feel like the only reason you're staying up to date with stuff is because it's gonna help you out. Like for me,
yeah
when AI came out, I could have been one of those people that are like, no, fuck AI, whatever, I'm not gonna use it. But then if I stayed current with it, it helped me out in the long run because now there's a texture I can't find. Boom, I make a texture. Like it's one of those things where it helps me out where I'm not very 2D oriented in like drawing or whatever. So I mean I kind of am, but it's one of those things that I don't show off as much. Um,
yeah
that that aspect, I don't know. It is difficult. I guess.
Yeah. There are things like, for example, like I know how much Blender updates and stuff like that. I updated like I guess like once, twice per month or whatever.
I always
But I
do
really
both.
wish
Yeah.
I did know. I wish I really did know more of geometry nodes because I'm seeing like all these other artists making some very amazing systems, and it's gotten to a point where I have no idea how I would make some of them, not all of them, but some of those
You
in
should
Cinema 4D.
send me. Oh, in
Like
Cinema
they're very
4D
specific.
maybe. Yeah. I
Yeah,
was gonna
they're
say if
like
you
very
want to
specific.
learn geometry nodes, I could teach you a little bit. I don't
But
know
again, I'm gonna
everything,
be
but once we get into
yeah,
sim
but
nodes, I draw blanks on those.
yeah, but let's say I using it for like a motion design, you know, for motion design purposes and stuff like that. And
Yeah, I
say
mean,
it's like
I use it for VFX, but or procedural objects and stuff like procedural environments or like a changeable car or something like that. Um, but I have used it for like VFX, which for VFX though, it's very motion design heavy. Like setting up like a cell fracture object and then being able to control it with an object of when it disperses could be kind of used
I guess yeah,
as a motion design thing. It's a very
yeah.
basic cell fracture, but you definitely could do better on Cinema 4D for something that basic.
So yeah, self factor are easier. We have stuff like Cinema 4D. We don't have just like not just self factor, but we can also add noise inside the self factor, so it looks like it has rocks. We can make it in. We can make it hollow. We can add gaps between the self fracture,
That
and
requires
not
quite a
only that, we
work
can
for us.
yeah, and we can also control like we're gonna have like a field, right? So let's say we have like a box, and then whatever's in that box, maybe the cell factors get bigger or smaller, or they rotate. We can give the physics, and of course it's procedural, so we can do it in real time. But in Blender, it's like the cell factors, like well, without geometry nodes, you have to like, all the you can't really edit the mesh beforehand and stuff like that. You
Mm.
can also switch between different geometry inside. So let's say you have a cell factor of a sphere. I like this simulation, but I wish it were to be like this model of this like rabbit. So you just switch the hierarchy, and then there it's like, just
That's
like that.
but yeah, that's what I like about GeoNodes too. I mean, I know you're talking about
You
some
know,
of the
it's the
different,
same as well.
yeah,
We in
like
that
the
sense,
idea
but
of
yeah,
switching a collection with another collection to use a different set of objects or whatever. I mean, that's kind of
and
why I like it. And then if you start introducing simulation nodes, it's when you start getting closer to like what Houdini can do, but not
basically.
the quality of Houdini or the scale of Houdini, I should say.
Yeah, but like it becomes very useful when you start working on different projects because even up to now, I've been reusing project files, all project files, just to take the system and I just edit a couple parameters and then it looks like a completely different thing. Like
Yeah.
I did like I remember I did like the simulation of the statue on my Lendl project, like a statue exploding. That came from like a different project file. I don't remember which one, and I just like put it there, edit the parameters a bit, and there, that's it. I don't have to spend hours
Yeah.
doing the thing again because I
It's the
already have
same.
it, right?
It's the
Yeah,
same way for me when
like
it comes to geonodes. I always save all of them so I can pull them into another project, reuse, maybe even change like whatever shapes are in there. Like I have like a fence geonode thing that's on a
exactly.
curve where I can draw the curve and it makes a fence. I can change like the posts, like
That's
how
pretty.
they look
Yeah,
or
yeah.
stuff like that where it's like
Yeah,
it's pretty
exactly.
helpful. I mean,
Yeah, it's like why?
this does kind of make me think. Like, do you remember when Andy was talking about on the I think last episode or 2 episodes ago? Andy mentioned something about how his company or whatever was looking into using like an AI program to create simulations based on previous data. Would that be something
Yeah.
like? Do you think that's going to be something that's like? I mean, they're doing it on a business level where like the business itself is creating it, so it's not going to be open source or whatever. But if I'm assuming it's not going to be open source, but is that something like do you see being helpful in the future, like in terms of like
Oh,
maybe
definitely, bro. There's so many. There's like a lot of simulations. Like let's say AI simulation, like generate me a simulation of I don't know, like a particle. What's it called? The diffusion. I don't remember what it's called, but it's like where there's like an expansion of these trails, or right, these walls, but they don't really intersect. And they make this kind of. It's very hard to explain, right? It looks like looks like a brain basically.
Oh,
You
okay.
know all the
Oh
lines,
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah. I
so-
know what you're talking about.
something like that. Like if and that would be super useful and save me so much time because a lot of the time right now really isn't on rendering the most recent GPUs 3060. I haven't don't obviously have not seen or tried the newest one, the 40 series one, but I have like a 3060 this like laptop, right? But the render time has not been an issue, but it's more of like me spending time trying to like simulate, trying to figure out how these simulations will work. So
Yeah.
if it saves me time, and if it looks good to the point where it's like usable for like commercial stuff, right? Then I'm definitely going to use it because it's going to save me time. And at the end of the day, it's not really me showing off like, yeah, I can do this thing. It's just more about like the narrative and the execution of the project because that's what most people will care about, right?
Mm.
And it's sort of like, yeah, you just took like you look at your photos, there are accounts that just straight up just take photos, and they look like these like neon like things, right? And for some people, it'll be like, yeah, you just took a photo, but it's a pretty goddamn good photo, right? Like it looks good. It's satisfying too to look at, especially on Behance. The photos there, it's like I look at like these like overview photos of like buildings and cities in like Vietnam or China or whatever,
Mm.
and it's like, I'm a 3D artist, but this photo looks so damn good. I'm gonna save it. I know this could be a reference for something, and you know whatever gets the idea that I want. That's all I care about for the most part.
Mm.
It's more of me just telling a story, I guess.
Yeah, no, I
But
get you.
I do again. I also do like doing manual work sometimes. I guess like a little
You
bit
like
because you
manual
also have a
work, but like, do we really enjoy fucking creating simulations from scratch? Like, can I? Like, there are some
sometimes that
things that,
depends.
yeah, sometimes it's okay. I get. Um, it's so hard. I mean, for my
But
my point of view, if something's gonna make my life way easier, it's a plus. Like Embergen came into my life, I was happy. Like I couldn't make an explosion well. I can. I know how to make explosions with Blender, but it is a fucking process. And I remember
it,
posting an explosion render, and someone was like, "You still have to bake it." I'm like, "No, it's a fucking VDB." It was like real time baking, and then I just exported it, and then just like I
well,
don't know, like stuff like that. If it saves me a fuckload of time, I am ridiculously happy. Especially with the fact that I'm doing short films and things like that, where every part of the
yeah,
process is me by hand, and not all of it I care to be like the creative in it. Like I don't mind putting it on like certain aspects that I dislike, but it's just necessary to get the thing that I need. I'll do it because like
yeah,
I mean, like we have things that we enjoy. Like personally for me, I really love modeling. If I could just spend time modeling, I would like doing that. Texturing is fun for me. Character animation obviously, but the character modeling not so much. So then I use things that help me out like Daz or Make Human or MetaHuman, which I want to get into. Things like that. I don't know. If it can really help you out, it's one of those things. You
yeah. I
take it.
forgot what was I gonna say. God, I had something in my head. I forgot. I was
Do
gonna
you
say
want to
something
take
about
a?
the.
Can we take like a 2 second break? Actually,
I remember. So you mentioned like Embergen, right? So do you know what turbulence FD is?
Turbulence FD. Wait a minute. Is that
Yeah.
for Maya?
Huh?
Is that for Maya? What is it for?
No, no. It's for Cinema 4D. So basically, like I think like 10 years ago, basically 10 years ago, right? There was this plugin was being used like called Turbulence FD, and it's basically
That
smoke
sounds
simulations.
so familiar. Okay.
Now here's the crazy part, right? People still use it,
Mm-hmm.
but just recently, like I think like since like last like December or November, I'm not on this version of Cinema 4D, but the most recent build of Cinema 4D came out with their own GPU pyro tag. So you can do smoke simulations in native vanilla Cinema 4D without like X particles. You don't have to have Embergen.
And is
You
it
can just use
simple enough, or
and all you do is just you have like your source object, You light it up, and that's pretty much it. I want to update it, but I'm worried about the X particles and redshift. Probably
That
updated
actually
already, but
that does give me a slight topic, I guess.
yeah,
Does so in terms of updating, because this is what reminded me of it. I have like
yeah.
four versions. Well, actually, like
But
five versions of Blender on my computer because they do different things, and certain ones have certain plugins that only work on that version. Is that something? That was weird. Okay. Does that happen on Is that something that you do with Cinema, or can you even do that? Like, if you update Cinema, like it updates the whole program, and you don't have the older versions. What's up?
okay, here's the thing with Blender and Cinema 4D. The thing is with Cinema 4D, what I like about when it comes to updates is it doesn't update like like it doesn't it's always being updated, right? Like it's always being kept up to date, but it's not updated frequently to the point where every month there is a new build like Blender is. So I will only update Blender every maybe every few months because it's I'm only using it for modeling for the most part, right?
Yeah.
But the tools that come out are amazing. So I'm like, Blender is great, but slow down, man.
Yeah. I
Wait,
mean, it's
but
understandable, but like
it's not
I'll
a bad thing though. It's a good thing though, because we know getting updates, and a lot of people are making uses for it. They are
I only
people who are
download stuff.
constantly experimenting.
Yeah, I only
Yeah,
download stuff
with
when something new comes out on
yeah.
Blender. I'm like, all right, yep,
W-
time to do it.
With cinema, I update it maybe every year, and there's like a update every 1 or 2 years, and these are not like small; these are like major updates. Like the previous one, before this one, it was like we just introduced to you GPU simulation, which was big because now I could do clock sims without worrying about slowing down. Before it was almost impossible. Now it's super easy. Uh, they also have their new like rope simulation stuff like that. They had a UI overhaul kind of thing. Cinema 4D looks a lot like Blender in terms of like where the buttons are.
That's
And
nice.
then just recently they have like the new Pyro tag, which is pretty big, because it wasn't just smoke simulations. It's GPU smoke simulations, right? And a lot of other programs, especially Blender, it's not like you don't use a GPU to like simulate that, right?
You
You need to
don't?
have
I'm
like
pretty sure you use a GPU to simulate explosions and stuff. You could be wrong.
in Blender, no, it's still CPU. As
Oh.
far as I know, if it was, people would be using it by now. And
Is that what's making
but
it slow as fuck? That makes sense.
yeah, yeah, because it's not the only thing that uses the GPU in Blender is the render engine, right? And Cinema 4D is now taking advantage of the like soft bodies, the rigid bodies, the um the smokes. They not only made it available, but they also added features stuff like, oh, by the way, you can also make your soft body a deforming plastic object, right? You say you get a plastic, you drop it, and it deforms like it bends, or you can make it a balloon, so you can inflate things as well, which is pretty sick.
You
And there's
couldn't
like, oh,
inflate
you also want
cloth before?
you could, but it was a lot difficult. But now they have like a separate button for that, like balloon,
Oh,
plastic,
that's weird.
and it's like, wow, this will come in handy and stuff like that.
I'm
It's
used
pretty
to
good. And they
I'm
update it all the
definitely used to
time.
Blender because we have like a pressure system, so like I can easily make
Yeah, yeah.
pillows or stuff like that.
That's basically what Cinema 4D has right now, like a pressure system and stuff like that. And then you have like the plugins as well. It's like I think like 2 years ago, Redshift was just like whatever. Now it's like yeah, so Races is now fully integrated into Redshift, and you have ray tracing if you want to use ray tracing. And then there's X particles is like, oh, we just introduced GPU stuff. Here is the new thing, yada yada. And the GPU thing for X particles was huge because that was like one of the struggles with using the plugin. Now they have that. You can do liquid granular simulations and just regular particle simulations with the GPU. Not
Hmm.
smoke sims yet, but then there's Embergen.
Yeah,
And then there's
Emergen's
LiquidGen
already
coming out,
using
right?
fucking
There's
GPUs.
LiquidGen, which is I want LiquidGen. LiquidGen sounds so cool. Just
I think
imagine like real time.
depending on how big of a simulation size you can have with Liquid Gen,
I
I
get
will
yeah.
use it.
It's still gonna use like the voxel domain kind of thing system because that's also how it's a bit similar to
Are
how
you
Spoxim's working up with
sure
Liquid.
it would use voxels? I don't know.
I mean,
Well,
that's how
either
it
way,
works in X
it's
particles,
just
though.
the size. I need to like the
Basically,
problem that I have with Emergen, and I'm gonna assume I'm gonna have the same problem with Liquid Gen. Is just the straight up the size of a simulation that I can have. Because I watch stuff like
yeah.
Houdini shit, and I'm like, damn, like I want to be able to make like a fucking city size like sim. Like, what if I wanted to do a tsunami through a city? Like, that's just impossible 90% of the time
But you don't
without the
do. I don't
simulation
say.
looking smaller than it should be.
But I don't. I don't think you do that in like for everything in Houdini. Because what
Well,
I've seen in breakdowns.
I know it's not just one big sim. It's multiple sims, but just in
Yeah, yeah,
general, like
exactly.
the still, I don't know
It's not
how.
as flexible basically compared to Houdini,
Yeah,
where it's like you can actually use and reference different parts to simulate. So let's say you have a ship passing by. I remember seeing this from another artist, right? He had a ship passing by it. I was also shooting. So there is a separate simulation for the front, separate simulation for the water, a separate sim for like the sides. Then you have separate. They have like smoke sims for the shock waves
yeah,
of the explosions, and then the explosion of the guns, and then other stuff like that. And then that's all like composite in, but it's like referencing the
yeah.
same animation. I think
I
I
guess
don't
it's
remember,
mainly
but it's
scale because like you've had the problem recently with fidelity in Emergen.
yeah.
It makes stuff look like it's supposed to be smaller. Like you know how like the proper scale of like what's a
You
good
have to fake a lot
example?
of this
Like
kind of stuff. You have
you
to
do have
make
to
those
fake it.
big things small because it
Yeah,
just doesn't.
but you have to make the big thing smaller or whatever, but a lot of the times the simulations that I get from Embergen look like they're supposed to be like the height of me, but I'm trying to use it to be the height of a building, you know?
Basically,
So
yeah.
that's been like my biggest problem with it. I also noticed that there's some pretty cool shading tricks you can do in Blender to fix a lot of the fidelity issues, but I recently found that out. Um, Besides the point, but it's just one of those things that kind of bothers me. Especially like just getting proper scale of like a explosion or
I
something.
think I think I did show you that I did manage to get it fixed. I don't know what I
No,
did, but I lowered the
you did show me. But I was
I lowered the viscosity value, and I was like, that's surprised it got fixed, and it looks perfect all of a sudden. Like this is exactly the kind of like quality that I need, and it looked like ink if I increased the density. And I'm like, what happened? And there's just it's so weird. I don't know.
it was like I
I don't know
got you,
why.
son. You tried
I
enough. I'll give you it.
Now when it comes to X particles, whenever I go to the Discord, right, I can just start because they changed their Discord. You can start like a forum post, and then one of the developers and moderators will respond to you, and one of them
Um,
helped me with the granular sim, right?
you see, that's I
With
like
with Jenga,
those forum systems. I want to get that started in my Discord or something. But
with Jenga fix, I asked for help, and I didn't get any response. It's like, is your voxel? What's your voxel? It's like, is your voxel size big or small? And I said, this is my voxel size, and then they never got back to me. I'm sure they're busy, but like, man, I need some help. Like maybe because maybe Insidium is bigger. I don't know who's bigger, but like Django effects didn't get like back to me like the customer support
I don't think a
of
lot of
Discord.
people. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think a lot of people use Embergen as much as, I mean, like I do or you do. Like it was a very small thing that not a.
I mean, studios do use Ambrogen, especially in the game side of
Oh yeah,
things.
I would use it.
It's
Well,
pretty
actually, that's
big,
kind of
but it's
crazy that
not
they
as.
even use it as a game thing because I've seen Unreal and how it handles simulations. Bro, oh my
I mean,
god,
be,
they're
yeah, but
realistic. They're fast. They have like the same speed as Emergen does, and they're interactive. Like you can fucking move stuff and use it as like a game object.
yeah. But the thing is, with Ambrogen is not. It's because it can be used in any DCC, right? Because it exports in VDB, and it's also real time. So, and it's also a one-time purchase without the maintenance part, right?
Yeah,
Whereas
which I don't
Incendium
like. Actually.
is only a Cinema 4D plugin for now, because if you didn't know, it's coming to Blender and Maya, 3ds Max, X Particles, which should be pretty game-changing. Uh, if oh my god, if X Particles was like Incendium was like, hey, you can now use geometry nodes with X particles. That's going to make everyone too overpowered, bro. Because like it's like one thing I would really wish X particles has was a node system because it's like a lot more organized,
Yeah.
right? I use nodes in Cinema 4D for like Espresso, which is basically like a programming kind of way to use Cinema 4D. So for
Mm.
example, I had this like object, right, and I wanted to like rotate it and come from like the left, and I wanted to mirror the animation, right? So instead of duplicating it and doing that, I had like a small node system saying like, whatever this object does, invert it on this thing, and every
Yeah.
time I edit one, it just did it does the same thing on the other.
I want
It's
that.
quite visual.
It's kind of why I want
You could probably do that in
gel.
Blender, but
No,
you have the
you
drivers and
can
stuff like that.
you can kinda.
But it's not like a node thing,
It's
right?
not node yet. That's the reason why
Yeah.
I want like geometry nodes to keep developing, because they already introduced sim nodes. Like I have 3.4 or 5 just because I wanted to test out the simulation nodes. Just just like I literally have it on my computer just so I'm like, okay, I want to get kind of familiar with
That's
it.
if Cinema 4D had something like simulation nodes, bro, the artist would go wild with it. Like it's because it's like we like nodes, but everything is like a layer kind of base. We don't mind it, but nodes would be kind of nice. There are scene nodes, but I don't think anyone's using it as much because it doesn't deem as useful as the other things. But like the
Yeah, it's
expressor
just
nodes that we have, which is like the program thing, is like useful. It's like, for example, I would have like a car, it's going forward, and you can use like pi to rotate the distance of the car traveling and the size of the tire, and have all wheels turn and use like a node setup. It's pretty cool stuff, and
yeah.
I think yeah.
I gotta fuck it. I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for Blender to like really properly flesh out the node systems in, cuz I imagine one day they're going to have like a pyro tag, like similar to Cinema 4D, but it's going to be
Oh
like
my
something that you
god,
can
that
just
would be
add.
so insane if they did.
You add it into like geometry nodes with the sim in sim out
Yes,
things, and then you're able to
yes.
change like maybe have like a fire system that goes along a curve or something to like create like really distinct shapes and stuff, like, and it would be properly simulated with like things going out, because right now it's very faked. Like I tested out the particles
Yeah,
or
yeah,
the sim nodes, and
dude.
it's like you use a noise texture to drive like particles to go through that noise texture, but that I don't think that's properly simulation, because that's all mathematical noise, right? That you're
Yeah.
simming
If
through.
you could do those like abstract simulation stuff, right? And it becomes so good to the point where it's definitely usable for motion graphics and an alternative. That's going to like definitely convince me to not use
And if it
Cinema 4D
was
just because it's expensive. But the other thing is that the one thing that's refraining me from using Blender a lot more than Cinema 4D is that is the 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 performance when
Yeah, I
you
was
have
gonna.
high polygons, right?
I wanted to
So
say like GPU stuff as well
yeah,
for the
so
Sims
some
shit. Would be nice.
yeah, so like someone in my DMs was like, "Yo, Blender is great. It can handle basing. I don't know why would you Cinema 4D." And I'm like, "Yo, you should try it with like 8 million polygons." It's like, no, I didn't have an issue. You will see that you'll have an issue because that's the only reason. That's the actually the major problem I have with Blender. Like everything else, it's pretty much perfect except for that, and also not it having like a render queue kind of thing. But
Yeah, the
I just
render
wish
queue
that it,
bothers
it
me
could
the most, because the high poly count
because you have to render
obviously
it like
bothers
manually,
me.
right?
Yeah, it bothers me that you can't handle high polygons the most, and I don't know if it's something you can fix with hardware, like if it's a memory issue, if it's a
No,
GPU
no, 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 no,
issue
no, no,
or
no,
CPU.
no, 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 no.
Then
Uh,
what the
It's
fuck
it's
is it?
not
Is it like straight up like some like coding thing built into
it,
Blender that
it
just is
it's
like,
not
I can't do
because
this?
like it's not because I had like a rig in the like in the old studio where I would do like it had like a I don't remember what CPU, but it was like the most like up to date Intel CPU, and it was using an RTX 3080 Ti. By the way, it had like
Was
128.
VRAM good though? Because I've noticed
It
that a
was
lot
like
of the time my VRAM's the problem.
It was like, oh, I think 12 or 24, I don't remember. So it's
Okay.
more than enough. The other thing is it had 128 gigabytes of RAM, by the way. So that's a lot. But Blender was still like dying. So I'm like, but
So
when I go on Cinema 4D or if you use Maya or Unreal or Houdini, it's like it will like slow down, but it won't crash. It's still usable. I can still move, like if I have like let's say 20 million polygons in a Cinema 4D scene, I can still move along, right?
yeah,
I can still move around and edit stuff.
like
It only gets
you
really
could
slow
have
when I
like
start animating
a
stuff.
full-fledged forest without it being like, yeah, no, I'm not doing this.
I've made full forest before, like millions of trees, by the way.
Yeah,
And these trees are like 600,000 polygons, right? And
and it's still not.
those trees are also they're also like instanced, right? So there's no issue whatsoever. But when I instance something in Blender, it's like I want to have 8 million instances, right? Of like a cylinder. It's like I'm dead. It's like
It's
come on,
stupid.
man.
So what do you think the problem is? Is it like an internal issue with Blender?
I think again. I'm not like a software engineer or
Yeah,
anything, so I wouldn't know what the problem is. But I know that like Cinema
viewers.
4D and Maya and handles like that much of detail a lot better than Blender does.
Mm.
And like if it fixes that, and if it does manage to fix that issue, that's going to help a lot of sculptors, because the other reason why a lot
Oh
of
yeah, you
sculptors will
can't
still be
sculpt
using ZBrush,
shit. I
because
never
ZBrush
sculpt.
has like billions or trillions of polygons, but still like keeping it at like 60 FPS or something
I
like
think
that.
it's because
So it's like,
they I forget the technique that's used, but I know it's not proper 3D. It's
is
like
it not some?
it's 3D, but it's like projected onto a flat image or something like that
Yeah,
for you
something
to.
like that, isn't it? I feel like it's using like sort of like a hybrid of like nanite kind of technique,
Yeah,
kind of.
something like that.
I don't know. I'm not like I'm just an artist. I'm not
Yeah,
a
same.
software engineer.
I don't know. Viewers, if you know you're a software engineer or anything and you know that it's a Blender or internal Blender issue, let me know, and let me know if I can hire you to fix it to make my own version of Blender, because I would appreciate that.
You think ChatGPT can generate a an add-on to have like a render queue? That, bro, I want a render queue so bad in Blender. So I can just like
Well, you just
render.
gave me something to do on right after this. So I have to stream later, though. After stream, I'll do it.
I love my former colleague showed me about the render queue, and I'm like, this changes everything. I can just like have to like 5 scenes. They all like take like 30 seconds per frame, but I don't want to manually do it because I'm going to be at work. So I'm just going to click render on the render queue, and when I get back home, I get 5 different render sequences. I'm like,
Yeah,
yes.
that's helpful. Anyways, we do got to wrap up this episode. Um, I hope you guys enjoyed watching. That was great.
Yeah.
A lot of topics. We're
This is
gonna
the third party podcast.
a third party podcast. I'm not doing any more ad breaks. I didn't add one, by the way, to this episode that came out today.
That's fine.
Um, it's in the description. Skillshare, Dubby.
Yeah,
Skillshare, you can get 30%
yeah,
off your first month. Um,
yeah.
and every time if you use the code third party podcast, you get 30% off. Um, if you want Dubby, which is the drink you probably see me drinking on all these podcasts because it's like my main energy drink, you can get 10% off any purchase using the code. I can change it. I probably should, but the code is JRB, all caps.
Oh,
But I can change it to third party, so I probably should soon. But it's one of those things because I plan on using it for my
yeah.
actual account. I didn't plan on using Skillshare for my own videos. It's one of those things. Either way, hope you enjoyed watching. We're gonna go record another one, I think, and then I'm gonna go stream after. So.
Oh shit, you got to stream as well. Damn. On the ground.